agree with you fully. But on that point about you made 2 minutes ago about they're not necessarily always about decision making, these games. I honestly believe the two greatest benefits that come out of gaming, depending on the game, but broadly speaking, most of the time, are real consensus and clarity about some assumptions you're making about the future.
Yeah.
Because if your assumptions about the future are poor, and they're bound to be assumptions because they are about the future, if your assumptions about the future are poor, then your strategy that flows from your assumptions and your decision making that flows from your strategy are bound to be flawed.
Yeah.
So at a workshop, if you can get the key assumptions out on the table and then have these multifunctional teams, multidisciplinary teams, various stakeholders then antagonize and chew over these assumptions.
Yeah.
And then if these assumptions then emerge being better, because at least there's some level of consensus around them, they still may be wrong, but at least there's now consensus, then I think the strategy has a better chance of being good, and therefore the decision making better.
Yeah.
So that's my real take home from most of the workshops that I've facilitated or designed or been a part of. It's real consensus around the key assumptions that we have to build upon to take the business forward or the organisation forward. And then the second very closely related benefit that I honestly believe that workshops deliver is then confidence. Right?
Yeah.
Because people come into a workshop, as you say, may not know why they're here, or they come in, as I was saying earlier, and they're very anxious about the future. And now they've had a chance, whether it be for half a day or 3 days, to really be very, very honest, to challenge some key assumptions that the business has had, either overturn those assumptions or think, do you know what, they're not bad. Then they feel confident that the strategy, the decisions that flow from that are actually going to be good for the business.
Yeah.
Whereas if you hadn't spent time dealing with assumptions, then whatever flows from that can be really questionable. So assumptions are key, and then confidence that when you leave the workshop, you can think that's time really well spent. I believe in the output of that workshop.
Yeah.
I'm now going to support the implementation because I feel confident it's the right thing for my business and for me and for my function.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the key things you need from any game like this or pressure test is some sort of actionable outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's one of the things we work very, very hard on. We ran a pressure test for a global car manufacturer launching a new vehicle.
Yeah.
It's the sort of thing they do every year,
Yeah.
all the time,
Yeah.
right? But it was a new variant of vehicle that they wanted to launch.
Yeah.
Within the 2 hours that we were in there, we identified 42 actions that they needed to take that they hadn't previously identified.
Wow.
Things that they needed to do to improve the delivery of this new vehicle type.
Yeah.
So I think it's, whilst it's around, you're right, challenging those assumptions and helping you to make decisions, maybe. It's also about identifying those key actions. What do we need to do?
Yeah.
Who is going to do them? When are they going to do them?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, this sort of game, test, workshop, whatever you want
Yeah.
to call it,
Yeah.
it just becomes a fantastic discussion.
Yeah.
But with no tangible
Yeah.
result coming
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah.
So we're always working really hard to produce that report of either the risks that hadn't previously been thought of,
Yeah.
actions we now need to take.
Yeah.
So it might be that one of the actions is we need to make a decision on that choice or that choice.
Yeah.
And therefore that is almost a decision in itself.
Yeah.
But we record that as an action. But you're right. I mean, we've also equally gone into pressure tests and games where we run them, and there's not been that many actions identified. Been actually precious few.
Yeah.
And precious few risks.
Yeah.
And as you said, the bounce
Yeah.
it's given the organisation
Yeah.
has been phenomenal because they feel really well invested in it. Similarly, we've run a test where it was actually, it was not a good outcome at all. It became very clear that the whole program was full of holes, and the client essentially postponed the whole program because they could see that in trying to run it, they would spend at least as much again on the program trying to fix it as trying to actually initiate it in the first place.
Yeah.
So sometimes you'll get, a real drama, and
Yeah.
it's obvious there's a real problem. Sometimes you get very little, and therefore it's high confidence.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
But I think the key thing out of all of it is, like you say, it's recording those. Here are assumptions that we have made, and yes, those have been validated.
Yeah.
Or here are the actions we now need to take to make this work.
Yeah.
Or here are the risks that we haven't previously thought of. Or here are the opportunities.
Yeah.
People forget that these games are not just there to critique and to challenge.
Yeah.
Sometimes the challenge can be we're not being ambitious enough.
Yeah.
We're not going far enough.
Yeah.
We should be pushing further than this. We should have more confidence in ourselves and our product.
Yeah, there can definitely be real tipping points, can't
Yeah.
they? Once it can inspire the business to be more confident in itself.
Yeah.
Had it, it may be having a beating the year or two before that, but now it needs to galvanise and move on. And games can certainly galvanise and move businesses on quite quickly.